Hanji, good afternoon, everyone. Hanji, good afternoon, Dr. Sharma, Dr. Saibi.
Good afternoon, Professor.
Hanji, Dr. Gupta from USA. Amit, Vyas Saab, Gautam, all my lovely friends on this very, very warm afternoon, which is the result of climate change happening everywhere. We are touching 47, 48 degrees of temperatures. So I think good response. Maybe we wait for another maybe 1 or 2 minutes, and then we can start. The panelists are also here. The kind of audience has also joined in, and maybe another 1 minute or so, one to 2 minutes, and then we can start. Dr. Sharma had, insisted that I wear black today. So, Dr. Sharma, you are muted.
Yeah, that makes you prominent. Otherwise, with white shirt, you appear as if you are a ghost, not a host.
Okay. So I dug out my shirts to get a black shirt today. So, Namaskar, Bajaj Saab. Very nice to see you, sir.
Muted hai, Bajaj Saab.
Dr. Aarti Judeja is the daughter of Bajaj sir, who's with the ATI of Haryana, placed at Gurgaon. Okay. And sir has also retired as the chief engineer. Wonderful human being, great engineer, and a very, very, smart yoga practitioner, sir is. And Dr. Saibi, as young and vibrant as ever.
सर IHRDI मेंशन करना आपने बुक में IHRDI का वो देना मेंशन करना है
जी so I think we can start with your permission, and maybe many other people will be joining in due course, so let us not waste time. To keep the sanctity, just 1 second. Okay, so request everyone to kindly mute your sets we are starting because recording will be on. Dr. Venkat Rangarao, kindly mute yourself. Gupta ji, kindly mute yourself. Yes, request everyone to kindly mute because otherwise it will spoil the recording part. All right. So good afternoon, everyone. Warm welcome to yet another session of webinar on very important topic today. I am Professor Sanjeev Chadha, heading the Management Development Center of Mahatma Gandhi State Institute of Public Administration, which is the ATI of Punjab. And this webinar is being brought to you by IHRDI Foundation, which is Inclusive Human Resource Development Organization, which is an initiative of like-minded friends and environmentalists and people from the industry who joined together during the difficult times of COVID 2019 to bring solace to this world. And as you remember, we did more than 62 webinars every week. And we have strong pillars of IHRDI today with us, Dr. Surinder Kumar Sharma, Professor Jeet K. Gupta ji, Dr. G.R. Saibi, Sanjeev Gupta sir. So all of these are here today along with us. So the topic, as you know, today is very important topic that we have. And this topic is basically the World Environment Day, which will be celebrated on the 5th of June every year. And for this year, 2024, the topic that World Environment Day is being celebrated on land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience. So this is a very important topic. And friends, this will be a panel discussion wherein there will be three panelists. With your permission, I'll introduce these three panelists. The first panelist is Professor Jeet K. Gupta ji. Professor Gupta is basically an urban planner who was with the PUDA, Punjab Urban Development Authority, later GAMADA, and more than 50 years experience, and he is now an academician par excellence who's working a lot in the field of urban planning, sustainable development goals, and architecture field. And the second panelist is Dr. Geeta Ram Saibi ji. Dr. Saibi is an Indian Forest Service officer and who retired as the PCCF, Principal Chief Conservator of Forest from Himachal Pradesh, Shimla. And he is also a practitioner and an academician par excellence. And third panelist, being your good self, I, Professor Sanjeev Chadha, will be the moderator and the panelist for today. And the program that we have set up is that, roughly we each will take around 15 to 20 minutes to bring our viewpoint on the theme that is therein. And thereafter, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, we'll have the question answer round. And last 5 minutes we'll have for summing up and bringing about the policy issues and conclusion and then further way forward. So friends, I start off with, we have the World Environment Program, which will be celebrated on 5th June, and it is celebrated every year since the year 1973. And this is under the aegis of the UNEP, United Nations Environment Program. And this year the theme is, as I already said, land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience. And the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is hosting this World Environment Program on 5th June this year. And the idea is to create awareness about the program so that, world over, people start thinking about, how to restore the land, how to avoid desertification, and how to bring about so that there is no drought into this earth. Basically, if we talk about, Gupta ji will explain you further much more in a much lucid manner. But just to give a blueprint, land is a very important resource. Land and the entire humanity, it depends upon the land. And if the land is okay, and world over, roughly more than 2 billion people, they depend upon land for their livelihoods, for their employment, and to bring about bring about food to them. And if the land is degraded, if the land is in a bad position, so around more than 25% of the population of this world is disturbed. And mind you, there are three challenges that the world is facing today. These three challenges include as you are all aware, the first challenge is climate change. Second challenge is rising pollution, and third challenge is the biodiversity loss. So if we talk about climate change, we know that every year the climate is rising by more than 1.5 degrees every year. And today, today also, if you go by the temperature, it will be around 46-47 degrees in Chandigarh, wherein we have a lot of greenery. But if you see the average temperatures in India, you will find that we are touching 50 degree, which otherwise would not have been believed that we are touching 50 degrees. Last 2 days we touched around 52, 53 degrees in Delhi, and today also one place in Rajasthan we touched around 52 degrees. So 50 degrees is not an aberration now. Now it is a norm. So that is because of climate change. What is happening is that because of the bad effect of climate, the temperatures are rising, the droughts are coming, and then the global greenhouse gases are filtering, and then overall with this the glaciers are melting, the levels of the sea is rising, and over a period of time, maybe certain areas which are coastal in region like Bombay, Maldives and all, they could be submerged into water. So then what is happening is, overall, if we go by the overall the pollution is rising because of fossil fuels and because of various other factors, because of the lifestyle, the CFCs and the BCFCs. So with this, the on one hand side, the concretization is coming up, the jungles are being destroyed, deforestation is happening, and the strength of the land is sapping, and wherein what is with this the agriculture is going down, the communities are not being able to do well, and ecosystems is being disturbed. So it means over a period of time, what has happened is that the crops are failing, the water resources are reducing or dwindling, economies are being weakened, and communities are being endangered. And with this, mind you, the rich people would be able to survive. But the poor people, they are the worst hit because of the climate change, because of the pollution, and because of the other factors. Because for them, the resources are drying up. For them, the land was a resource. 2 billion people depended upon land. And with land, degrading, overall 2 billion hectare of land is being degraded. So generally, when we can say that this land, if it is used well, and if it is restored, it is generating around 11% of the carbon dioxide to the entire ecosystem. So if the land is restored, this 11% carbon dioxide that it is giving to the nature or ecosystem can be saved as such. So friends, if we go by, the land has to be restored, and the investments have to go into land restoration and to prevent desertification. And by research, it has been estimated that if we spend $1 on restoration of land, then it can bring about a return of $30 US dollars, $30. So that means $1 can bring us the effect of $30. So cost benefit wise, it is very, very effective. And further, if the land is restored, it can improve livelihoods, it can reduce poverty, it can build an ecosystem which is resilient, and it can increase the carbon storage and slow the climate change. So if we go by, and land restoration and climate change has to take place hand in hand, because if we restore land and do not take care of the climate change, then whatever good has come out of land restoration will go away. So on one hand, we have to have land restoration, and the other hand, we have to go by the climate change. Thirdly, what has happened today is that every day lakhs and lakhs of species of flora and the fauna, they are being destroyed. So they are being destroyed, they are becoming extinct because the land is going away because of unsustainable agriculture, unsustainable industry, pollution, and all these aspects. So if the land is restored and afforestation is done, over a period of time, we would see that the flora and fauna which is being extinct, it could be restored. And if it could be restored, then this could help us in preserving the entire ecosystem also. preserving the entire ecosystem also. Now, what could be done? Now, with this, what could be done and what needs to be done. So, therefore, while I was searching, is there there is a need to come into a collaboration mode. The government alone cannot do it. Only the developed countries cannot do it. The developing countries, the developed countries, the private sector, the NGOs, the government sector, everyone has to come together on a single platform to preserve the land, to restore the land, to avoid desertification, because more than 25% people of the entire world depends upon them. And if we go by and restore them, then the SDG goals, like goal number 1, no poverty; goal number 2, zero hunger; then sustainable consumption and production, livelihoods; then industry, innovation, infrastructure, sustainable agriculture. So all are affected. To 8 to 9 goals are affected if we go by this. Now, how to go about this? So I researched and found out that there could be many ways. I mean, this is not an exhaustive list, but of course there could be 7 ways wherein the land could be restored. The first way is to make agriculture sustainable. Now, the idea is that, how can you make agriculture sustainable? Agriculture could be made sustainable by, following. Uh, we have seen that overall the agriculture subsidies, they have destroyed and made people, like you see in Punjab, wherein more water is being drawn, and because of MSP is being given. Of course, it's a political issue and an emotional issue. I do not want to comment more on this. But world over, the subsidies have brought about areas wherein a lot of resources are being exhausted. So we have to develop those crops which are climate resistant. We have to develop sustainable kind of agriculture with local knowledge, and we have to reduce the use of pesticides. We have to bring about organic pesticides and organic fertilizers, so that that is restored. The other way to improve upon how to reduce it, to save the soil. Now, as I already said, that 60% of species, they live in the soil, and because of the soil only, the biodiversity is possible. 95% of the food that is produced through the soil. There is no other way of producing the feed. And further, soil acts as a carbon sink which locks the greenhouse gases also. So what needs to be pushed out here is that we need to push and practice organic soil, for soil friendly farming, wherein the practice is of zero tillage, and add compost and organic matter to the soil. And we could use new and innovative methods like drip irrigation, mulching, etc., etc. The third way is to protect the pollinators. We are all aware that had it not been for the bees, the world would not have taken the shape. Whatever we are seeing today, we would not be able to see. But all the fruits, the vegetables, the seeds, they are dependent upon pollinators. And pollinators, the bees are the best pollinators. But apart from bees, we have animals like bats, insects, butterflies, birds, and beetles also, who can be considered as pollinators, because they carry the pollen from one to the other, which is responsible for the entire vegetation. So to protect the pollinators, what needs to be done is we have to reduce the air pollution. We have to reduce the adverse impact of pesticides and fertilizers. We have to conserve the forests. We have to conserve the wetlands and the meadows where the pollinators thrive. The fourth method of restoring the freshwater ecosystem is that we have to restore freshwater ecosystem, wherein the water bodies which are fresh, they have to be cultivated. They are dwindling and they are going away. They are being polluted, so they have to be protected. So because these water bodies, they supply food and water to billions of people. And we are seeing today what happened in Cape Town, South Africa, wherein people, they had no water to drink, and this happened in Bangalore also. And maybe certain authors have said that the Third World War will be on the basis of water. So water shortages. So water is very, very important, and there's need to protect all rivers and such kind of freshwater bodies which provide water to us. And the freshwater bodies, they also protect us from droughts, from floods, and they provide habitat for the plants and animals. And they are disappearing today because of pollution, climate change, and over exploitation. So we need to restore the freshwater ecosystem by improving the water quality, by identifying the pollution sources, and monitor health and freshwater ecosystem. Now, the fifth method, which I recommend for land restoration is renew coastal and marine areas. So oceans, they provide us lot of things. They provide us oxygen. They provide food. They provide food. They provide water. They provide climate. They prevent the climate change also. So 3 billion people dependent. They are dependent upon the sea. So, friends, mangroves, etc., they could be cultivated and they could be used and they could be, protected. The sixth method is to bring nature back to the cities. We know that cities are very important. Gupta ji will delve more into this. Cities bring about the entire ecosystem in terms of the economic growth, GDP growth, and everything, and they are responsible for consumption and production. But today they have become concrete jungles. Now, what should be done is that more afforestation in cities like Chandigarh. At least 1/3 areas could be there in urban forests had to be brought about, and more shade. And we have to use green buildings, natural cooking, etc., and have more water bodies in the city. The last method of restoration is to generate financing for restoration. So, as an estimate by the United Nations Environment Program, around 500 billion US dollar will be required for this, for bringing about climate change, biodiversity, and bringing about best ecosystem. But that is not said and done because governments do not have such kind of money. So everyone has to pitch in and bring about all this, and all these changes need to become a mass movement rather than a class movement, wherein everybody would have to contribute to this. So, friends, I think I have set up the tone, and with this, and I've also exceeded my time maybe by 2-3 minutes. With this, we'll further go into discussions. Now, I request Professor Jeet K. Gupta, sir, to take over from here and take around maybe 15 to 20 minutes to bring about the theme of World Environment Program, that is the land restoration, desertification, and the land drought resilience. So I welcome Jeet Gupta ji, and incidentally, Gupta ji is based at USA these days, and now the time at USA will be around maybe 5:30, 5:40 a.m. So good morning, Gupta ji from India, and warm welcome. And the stage is all yours now. Jeet sir, okay, time is 3:40. All right, PM. Jeet sir, am I audible? Jeet Gupta sir?
He's muted.
Jeet sir, please unmute yourself and please put your video on also. Gupta sir?
Video chal raha hai.
Am I audible?
No, I'm muted.
Yes. Am I audible now?
Now audible.
Yes. Nice. Good to listen to you, sir.
No,
After long time.
Thank you very much for the elaborate basic explanation regarding the dissertation, which is becoming one of the major issue, and that's what I think the world has to look for in order to make this world sustainable. We have to overcome the problem of desertification. Is there a? Can you give me the right to share, चड्डा जी? राइट टू शेयर है, आप देंगे मुझे स्लाइड? हेलो हेलो
Sir, just 1 second, sir.
आ गया.
Done. Yes, sir. Done, sir. Done.
Right.
You can share, sir.
Right. Is this audio visible? My screen is visible or no?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet, sir.
Okay, let me see. This is Is it visible?
No.
Is not visible?
Yes, sir. But it's yes, sir. Now it's visible.
Visible. Right. So now is visible. It can move.
Yes.
No, you can put it on slideshow mode, no?
I put it here. Right.
Yes, sir. It's visible. Sir, I request you to conclude by 3:45.
Okay.
Sir.
Right. So thank you very
because
much.
then Dr. Saibi, and maybe then we can discuss things in the question and answer round, sir.
No problem. Thank you, Chadaji. And I think it's a very important subject and also very important day for the reason this is the day which is celebrated right from the year 1973 when the UN took the decision that we will take up this opportunity that everywhere people should be made aware about the global problem and they must initiate action to protect the environment and also the future of the planet. So every year they have a different theme, and this year theme is land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience. And it is primarily based on the fact that our land and our future. So the host accordingly is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as Dr. Chedda has briefed it. And I think the problem is that it's been briefed that word, the land remains the major source, and land is one of the most important element on which the entire world and the living system exist. And that is the reason, this land needs to be valued and this land needs to be preserved, conserved, and promoted. And as is being said, 40% of the world land is being degraded and it is adversely impacting more than 3.2 billion. And they say by 2050, if the system goes like this, three-quarters of the world population will be impacted by the drought. So ultimately, the condition which are now existing, they are threatening the ecosystem and they are creating problem of the fresh water and the soil, which are the two essential element for survival and growth of the people itself. And the COP16, which is going to be held in December 24, is going to be the first event and the largest event where the world is going to debate how this problem of drought can be this can be tackled because this is becoming one of the one of the most visible kind of problem, and which is impacting the world over. Land, I think we have to understand, the land remains very finite. It's most critical and valuable gift of nature to the mankind. So it is basically not only creator but also sustainer of all kinds of flora, fauna, vegetation, and ecosystem. And land also remains one of the platform for human sports system. It is recognized as one of the basic human necessity, and it is essential that all activities of human beings which are performed on land, and this land is preserved and conserved. Looking at this entire context, the land is required not only for the housing all kind of structure which have been created over this world, but land is also being utilized for human being for human habitation. And let me tell you, India is in a very critical position for the reason that we have only 2.48% of the land and we have 17.6% of the population. So you can think about India remains a highly land stressed country, and land is always a problem and land shall remain a problem. And that's what India, if we are looking worldly, by how we can look care of desertification. I think in India the issue will be how we preserve, conserve, and promote the land use, so that everything, beside housing, trade and commerce, industry, and all the urbanization can take place. Also, we have enough food and services which we can provide to the people so they can grow itself. So land remains very, very critical, and you can see, there is a total, the entire land of the world is total area of the world is 510 million square meter of, so that's square miles, out of which India, the land is only 29%, whereas rest of the 71% is water, So land has already been given as a gift by nature, and that's what it has to be held in a very, in a sacred and manner. And if you see, there are 20, only 29% of the earth area is under land. So land is only 71% land is under habitable. Rest goes under, water, etc. And there are, and the majority of the land is under agriculture itself. So land use basically is one of the critical area which needs to be looked at, how the land is being used, because there are forests, there are shrubs, there are built up area, there are livestock, there are glaciers, there are barren land. And look at this Sahara Desert. Sahara Desert land's area is 96 square kilometer, and this is 3 times the land area of the total India. You can think of that is what, Sahara is. So therefore, you will find, the even what the 21% of the total Earth area has been given by land, God by to us, even that is not available, because majority of land is under not used by the human, cannot be used by human being, and that is what, we are worried that how we can make land optimization in order to make human living very qualitative. And by looking at, as Chedasap said, that cities are very critical because urbanization is growing very fast. We are at 31% and we are 1.41 billion people, And please understand that we are going to be 1.6 billion by the year 2050. But these cities have a problem. They generate 70% of the economy, 60% they consume energy, and they are also responsible for greenhouse gas emission and global waste to the extent of 70%, though they cover less area. But cities have much more and much larger implication in terms of the land, because they are all consumers of land and they are changing the nature of the land. And it is said, that India is with large population and growing, urbanization, going to have much more land under the urban uses. So if you look at the India that I said, the per capita land available was 1.3 hectare only in per person, You can see, this is the lowest land you can ever think of, which reduced to 0.27 and which will come down, 0.13 when we are going in the year 2030, Similarly, agriculture land is 0.14 hectare, So you can see we have already consumed 2.452% land under urbanization, which is going to grow, So therefore, you can see that India is already highly land stressed country, and that is what the challenge before us. And on one hand, we have less land, we have only 1/8 of the land what we require considering the population and the area. But majority of land in India is also prone to vulnerability in terms of earthquake, floods, drought, cyclones, landslide, and this is the forest fire itself. So already it has been said by World Bank that the disasters are causing around a loss of 2% of India's GDP annually, and with the global warming and all these kind of changes which are taking place, the problem India going to face is very, very critical. That brings out the fact, the land needs to be taken care of. Land needs to be preserved and conserved and promoted as a gift of nature. Unfortunately, land is being traded as a commodity, as a commercial commodity. So therefore, I think managing land remains very, very critical. And as a planner, and as an architect, I am looking the consumption of land in terms of rural and urban setting. So therefore, I think we have to have a fair system of land allocation where adequate land is available not only for human living and working, but there should be land available for afforestation, for food, generating food, etc. And that remains very, very important. So land in India has its own different values, because land is the platform for doing all human activities, and that's what we have to make sure, that we value this land. And if you're looking at the land in the urban context, the demand for our land for urbanization is increasing due to our population and rising urbanization, migration, industrialization, and we require more housing and more built up environment. The land is being urban land is priced higher, and land is becoming unaffordable for the reason there is a lot of speculation which is taking place, and that's the reason majority of city are facing with the problem of this rising slums, etc. So, in addition to what is happening within the four walls of urbanization, that's urban land, our peri-urban land is being developed on a large scale. There is a large conversion of land going from agriculture to non-agriculture use. You are finding the urban limits are being extended. The planning norms and standards are basically large consumers of energy, and you find, there are so much land being allocated for different institutions, but land is not being utilized, or it is only utilized for 6 to 7 hours on daily basis. Our building bylaws are very, very, absurdly defined because they don't allow high density and they are not allowing higher FAR. With the results, the land utilization in India remains very, very, imbalanced. So considering the fact there is a gap between demand and supply, there is a problem that we need to manage the land which is being used for urban development and for uh, human settlements. So the problem remains, there are the land ownership is largely under parastatal agencies. Now there are private sector have its own problem. There are development problem, and there are problem of legal problem of sourcing land and utilizing land. So that's what there are a number of things which are happening in this, and you find land remains the greatest issue in urban areas. So what are the problems in which are coming? They're creating roadblocks in the utilization of land. That is, we have a very poor land information system. We don't have a land use policy, and that how the land is going to be utilized. That means how much land we can afford for urbanization, how much land we can afford for afforestation, and also for this. Other uses. So, in the absence of any land use policy, land is being used in a very ad hoc and I think irrational manner, and we find that everybody is now looking at how we can source land and how we can grab land, and all these growth and development of urban areas are primarily and essentially based on the fact that how you can use the land, how you can grab the land. In fact, all our town planning practices, the major demand, a major problem, and the issues have been created. The way the cities are being planned, the way the planning norms have been adopted, the way the buildings are being created, and the way the cities are being expanded. I think that remains very, very important and very, very critical. Question remains, that how we can minimize the availability of land for urban purposes, because all land which is coming up within the urban domain is primarily and essentially is a space in which we are changing the culture of the land from agriculture or forest to the non-agricultural uses. And as Dr. Chadda said, we are creating concrete jungle, which have its own impact. And in fact, it is the way the cities are being planned, developed. They are creating problem of desertification and degradation of the land, because city have its own context. We are trying to generate lot of, it is said that because of the large consumption of energy and resources, cities are primarily and essentially responsible for climate change, because we are cities are responsible for global warming. And if you can rationalize the planning of the city, and also may rationalize the mobility, how you move from, how we are moving from one to another place, I think we'll do a greater job, and we will be able to save land, preserve land itself. In fact, the entire planning which is being taken now is, the option are there. They are degrading the land resource, and they are trying to create problems not only for the area within the city but also in the surrounding area. So therefore, there are different options, that where we can, look for. We can use the mechanism of urbanization and urban development in order to improve the quality of the land itself. So, in fact, what is to be done? I think the city needs to be looked critically. You have had unending city. Cities are melting. It's not the city in the urban areas, which are, municipal areas. The cities are growing. You find the cities are growing much beyond. Cities are melting, and all the peri-urban development is creating much more problem, because they are impacting adversely the quality of land itself. So therefore, what is the option available? We have to minimize the land which is being used for human habitation, so that there is enough land available for, other purposes like afforestation, like other uses, etc., which can restore the quality of land itself. So we have to rationalize our planning system, planning norms and standard. We have to minimize the consumption of land. And I think, like Singapore, what they have done, they have already said we will adopt a principle, because that's an island and they have a limited land, and they can't have, land. They cannot source land, and they cannot create land. Nobody can create a land. So therefore, what they are saying, that you have a minimum land and unlimited space. That means you can go vertically as much as you can go, but you should have minimum acquisition of land itself. That's what they are trying to say. And in fact, the land will have to be less for the urbanization and more for this other uses. And you see the global the 11 goal 11, which calls for making the cities and communities safe, resilient, and inclusive, and also sustainable. And that can only happen if the cities are, taken care of. And I can tell you, the all this climate change and all this global warming and rising carbon footprints have the, genesis in the way the cities are being planned. So, what are the options available for us to make cities more compatible, supporter of environment and ecology, and cities become not only destroyer of flora and fauna and all kind of ecology, but they become the source for value addition to this. So therefore, what could be the option? One is the, make cities as a radiant city, where you are planning and designing the city with nature, that is, you are using sun, space, and greenery, so as to create the best of the option. The other is to make the city compact. I think that is the phenomena which is now being accepted over the world, that city cannot be an ending city. We have to have very city which are compact. Compact cities are one which use less land. They can have more people. They don't need a car. And there is mobility by foot, not by, the vehicles, etc. So therefore, these cities are offering the kind of option. So we could have a model of the compact city. Look at this city in Abu Dhabi. That's a must-have city. It's a city which is called zero car city, zero carbon city, and zero waste city. And they have been able to do it, and they are trying to do it. And for the reason, they are trying to replan the city and evolve a new kind of strategy. There are no, vehicle which are allowed. So there are no white cars. There are no problem of parking. Everything you stop outside. And if at all you have to move within the city, there are these pods, electric pods, which are available, and they are run on the tracks, and they require very, very less area. And they have to use, what they have been used is that this is in a very hostile climate, where the temperature are invariably 50 degree or more. So they have put all these planning in such a manner that all the cool wind coming from the sea is try to run through this city, and so to make it cool. All the roofs are basically covered with those solar panels, so that they generate electricity of their own. They are not burning any coal, etc. And they are trying to have all these waste and all water being regenerated and recycled. And look at this, this is the problem of in cities. We are planning for vehicle, not for people. So that is the reason, our priority is going for, vehicle. And that is creating a problem, because we have to have wider roads. We have to have a huge area under parking itself. And that is leading to lot of problem of climate change because of consumption of fossil fuel, and also, emission of the carbon. So if we change our option from planning from people, from planning for
Jeet
vehicles,
sir, I request you to kindly conclude. And if there's something to share, I think because Dr. Saibi has to leave around 4 o'clock, and then we can.
I'm concluding, So
Sir,
the city could also be, planned on the circular economy, so that city don't generate waste, City have green areas. We have to green the area, cities, so that they become supporter of environment and ecology. Look at this, we have only 28 trees as against 10,163 trees in the Canada. So therefore, we have to increase the number of trees. Look at Chandigarh, the way they did it, they made this environment and ecology as integral part of the city. The lake has been created as an artificial lake you could think of, and the green spaces have been provided as integral part of the city planning, so that you can make the city cool. And, if at all there are additional population, you have, re-densification of the city, which has been done, in case of New York, where all these terraces have been used for residential, etc. So you can go for option of flatter development rather than plotted development, in order to intensify the land itself. So I conclude, so if at all this crisis of land is to be managed, and we say the quality of land is to be restored, I think urban planning and urban development and the way the architecture is being practiced, they also need to be thought of, And without, looking at the city, without making city rational, I think we'll not be able to do justice with the land itself. And let me all remind and conclude, that India only have 2.48% of the land and 17.7% the largest population in the world to be housed in. So in the Indian context, land remains very, very important, and land remains very, very critical. And if we are not able to manage the land, I think we are heading for a crisis. And India, I would suggest, the land should not be under individual ownership, it should be under collective ownership. Land should be held jointly as an asset and gift of nature, not as a commodity to be there. So that is, I think, the challenge which is faced in India. And I think the role, relevance of architecture and urban planning remains very, very important in order to, sort of the issue and make land more productive, sustainable, and livable. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir, for very, very comprehensive talk, and especially, you emphasized how land is so very important, and how it is dwindling and it is being treated as a commodity. Sir, so now I request Dr. G.R. Saibi to take over from here. What the tone has been set up by Dr. Gupta on how land is important. So, Dr. Saibi, the screen is all yours now. Please take up. Thank you. So if you want to share, you can share your presentation. You can share. Rights have been given to you.
Are my slides visible to you at the moment? Presentation visible or not?
No, the slides are not visible. Yeah, it's coming now. Yes, it's coming. Okay. Yeah, visible.
Thank you very much. Though enough has been said by previous speakers, and I think I need not to repeat it. And time is a constraint, and we are just moving really short of time. That means I'll skip some of the slides. Right. So it's very good that IHRDI invited me on this forum today, and we are celebrating the World Environment Day. And though it is on the 5th of the June, but anyway, it is a good beginning today by IHRDI, and the land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience being the theme of the World Environment Day. So, land restoration primarily is a process of halting degradation or rehabilitation of degraded land through reforestation, soil conservation, enhancing biodiversity, as well as restore ecosystem services and mitigate climate change. Actually, all what we are moving around the impact of the climate, this land degradation, desertification, and that means we are enhancing the process which are leading towards the climate change, and impact are very serious. So, which leads to flood, drought, and many other things. I am to skip some of the slides. But anyway, if we look into the view, this pie diagram, then we have nitrogen 78% in the atmosphere, oxygen 21%, then carbon dioxide 0.04%, other gases, mostly argon 0.96%. And this is, altogether, if we put carbon dioxide and other gases, it contributes around less than 1% of the, atmospheric gases. But they are a major contributor to the global warming. And this global warming, the main cause is the land use pattern, and land use practices, and whatever anthropogenic reasons are made. Though there are natural reasons also for it. Some of this, the volcanic eruption, and many other reasons relating to solar variability, solar intensity. So many reasons are there. But basic cause for this is the anthropogenic reasons. We will come quickly. This is a landscape. I skip it. Then this is a what we call ozone layer, which is in the atmosphere, above the troposphere and stratosphere. Between that, it is there. 10% of this layer exists in the troposphere, 90% in the stratosphere. So this is the layer which protects us from the ultraviolet rays, but we have made a big hole in this ozone layer, that is 24 million hectare of this ozone. This hole is there, which is impacting our Earth. That means ultraviolet rays, they are having the warming effect, and once directly reaches, it creates skin problem and so many other like cataract and so many other problems. So this is the ultraviolet rays which is impacting on our biological functions as well. Now, this is one chart. Let me not go skip it. Another, let me skip it. Solar radiation, I am talking the 7% ultraviolet rays. Whatever light we receive, that is 7% of the ultraviolet rays, 21% of the visible light, 50% of the infrared, and the global budget is there. Then this is the havoc being created, the hazard. Number of deaths which has occurred due to the climate change impact. And so this is the chart that tornado has affected 11.6%, and lightning 11.3%, heat and drought 90.6%, flooding 14%, severe weather, that means fog, hail, wind, and thunderstorm 18.8%. Then there is a coastal erosion, storm surge 2.3%, earthquake, tsunami, and volcano 1.5%. The wildfire nowadays, it is a very, you can see around the forest, there is a lot of wildfire happening, and this is happening because of this, rise in temperature. And there are so many anthropogenic reasons also associated with it. Anyway, this is a slide. The troposphere I discussed. Then there is a stratosphere. Then we have mesosphere. Then a thermosphere. Then the ionosphere. I will skip it. And we have been, since pre-industrial time, we have been realizing that carbon dioxide concentration gives to 40%, and methane has 150% now. From the time of the pre-industrial time, see where we are heading. We are progressing so high. Nitrogen oxide has increased to 20% because of anthropogenic reasons. So ultraviolet rays, I have discussed it. Its impact has also been seen. Greenhouse gases. Then anyway, I also skip it. Ozone. Constitution of this excessive use of the man-made chemical compound which release bromine and chlorine. Then the gases which are responsible for the global warming, which are emitted through the from the urbanization, industrialization, deforestation, and degradation processes, which are at the alarming stage, that the chlorofluorocarbons, HFCs, halogen, methyl chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, hydrochlorofluorocarbons, and methyl bromide, hydrochloride bromocarbon. And some of these gases come from refrigerator, ACs, foam blowing agent, fire suppressing. These are, lifestyle of the person nowadays. We are adding industrial solvent, dry cleaning solvent, electrical equipment, electronic equipment also. The chlorine is a stealing agent. It's still one of the, because the constitution of the ozone is O3, and the chlorine which is emitted from the industries, and that goes, and it's still one of the oxygen and O3, from one oxygen from O3, and make it O2. And that oxygen cannot stop the ultraviolet rays coming down. So this is what is happening with pollution, or what we call the global warming agent. And chlorine is one of the gas which is also impacting, is a global warming effect, HCF, chlorofluorocarbon, like that I told you. Ozone hole we have discussed 24 in 95. This is the picture taken by satellite imagery in the past many years. What is the ozone hole, how it is increasing and decreasing with the pollution. And it is 98. You can just see on this slide what is the ozone structure and its dimension. 1980, 1990, 2000, 2000. But you will see in the next slide, 1994 and October 1919. So it has been said that that ozone hole is healing, because there is some strategical involvement world over with the international agency. India is also signatory to those agencies, and like COP, Conference of Parties, which has held in Glasgow in 2026. It was 26th conference, and recently it was held in last year only in Dubai. So some stringent measures were proposed, and there is a CDM mechanism also. So many conventions have held for this thing, and earlier that very important convention which was known as Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. The Kyoto Protocol came into force in 2005, Paris Agreement 2015, then there is a Sustainable Goal 2030, then Kigali Convention also had in 2016, and it is a land use of the less use of the fuel, less use of the pesticide, limited harmful chemical for cleaning. These are the impact where which intervention can be done to reduce the impact. And ozone depleting. Okay, I skip it. Global warming. Then I'll just touch the permafrost. These are the area where the temperature remains zero or sub-zero below the land, and it is in fact in northern hemisphere we find it. They are the storehouse of the carbon and the methane, and they store enough methane and carbon dioxide. 4 or 5 times more what we are having in the atmosphere today. And temperature increase can lead them to blast. So now we are facing, as per the IPCC, the temperature from the pre-industrial time to now, it has increased from 0.08 to 1.2 degree. And there is apprehension that the temperature will increase up to 1.5. And if the temperature goes that, then the livelihood, population security, and all agriculture, it will be difficult for human being. Life will become a little tough, rather. So these are permafrost. Then we are having methane clathrate also, which are found in the deep into the sea area, and they are also the storehouse of the methane and carbon dioxide. And now the temperature of the sea, that is the hydrosphere, is also increasing, and if it increases more, then repercussion will be really very serious. Now these in permafrost, they store 38,000 gigaton carbon, methane in, and 37 gigaton in deep ocean. This is a methane caloric they store, and compared to approximately 750 gigaton in the atmosphere. That is many times more. We are having storehouses. Then what will happen? It is not only the land. That means which we talk about the land restoration, which is really very costly affair once it is lost. But anyway, first should we continue there to restore it. And once we lose it, not only the land of the Himalayan, which is the ecologically fragile area, but the plains and the areas which are along the coastal area also being impacted with the climate change. So if you look into one aspect of the coastal life, there's a coral bleaching that happens because the coral lives in symbiosis with the algae, the zooxanthellae algae. So what happens when the sea temperature increases? It is increasing also. We have gone to a depth of 70 meters down where the temperature has increased. So what is happening? Coral bleaching has already started. So the coral, what happens? It kicks out when the temperature increases. It kicks out the zooxanthellae algae, which is in the symbiotic relationship, and it is a habitat for many of the marine organism. So that means after kicking it, it also dies. That is called coral bleaching. And now you can think the habitat lost to many of the marine life because of climate change. So the pH value of the water also changes. Eutrophication takes place, and then warm water decreases the upwelling, causing less nutrients to reach the surface of the soil. Then this is the tiger. Our tiger, the tiger population has really gone down, but now the project tiger has come up, and now we are expecting the wild tiger number will increase manifold. That means it was a target fixed by 2022, and that we will having 6,000 or more target that tiger coming way, because it happens because of deforestation, because of non-availability of suitable habitat and migration of this species. And when the migration takes place, population, whether it's a human being or wild, then there is a lot of competition for survival. And these tigers, they have also faced such type of, and but again, the anthropogenic reasons are also responsible for spoiling their habitat and mass scale killing in the past. Antarctica, which is a source of 90% of fresh water, and because it is also, the ice surge that is also reducing this area because of the high temperature, and the melting has also taken place. Now you can see if it reduces, the ice content reduces, what will happen to supply of the water to the world? 90% to cater the need of the world population around. Now, broadly, if I say climate change, it has impacted. It is a challenge to the human security, food security, livelihood security, and population security, health security, habitat loss, reduction in drinking water, mass migration, extinction of species, influx of alien species, increase in the forest fire, increase in the scurf forest, reduction in coastal area tourism, where the livelihood of many of the people depend, and large-scale catastrophe of the marine and coastal species, spread of zoonotic disease, which spreads from animal to the human being, spread of infectious disease, malnutrition, low productivity, increase in urban heat island, because the urban area, as Gupta is expert in this field, but what happened when the temperature rise takes place, the buildings get heated more in the daytime, and in the night they release the heat, which impact the entire urban area, and biological function, especially the metabolic function and the respiration in the plants are impacted. And once the respiration impacted and evapotranspiration process are impacted, our plant growth is also impacted, and nutrition which they provide to us, that reduces considerably. Acidification, salinization, degradation, desertification, and quality forest, they turn into a scrub driver forest. forest productive, biomass disturbance in hydrological cycle, ecological balance, and gender balance also happens because of the impact of the climate change, what we are looking at. So, World Bank estimated 140 million people in Africa, Latin America, and South Asia by 2050 will be impacted by the climate change, and its immediate impact is going to be seen by 70,000 people in Sundarban will be rendered homeless by 2030 because of inundations and livelihood loss in those areas. And it is recently said the mangrove, which is growing along the marine area, we are losing that considerably in those areas because of the human activities and intervention and climate change, because habitat is we are going to lose very quickly in those areas. Then hurricane will increase if the temperature increase. That is, which is it is simulated by the models by IPCC that temperature is likely to be increased. But what already the gases which we have released, which are responsible for the climate change, they are existing in the atmosphere. We cannot take them back. Only thing is that we can mitigate. We can have a resilience. We can develop a resilience capacity. We can have a adaptive capacity increase. But even then, the temperature increase is taking place, and impact is being realized. The hurricane will increase by 12%, rainfall increase by 20%, receding of glaciers, sea level rise, crop destruction. Our 40% of the economy world over depends on the lives around the sea level, and what will happen to the economy? You can just guess that because of climate change, there is a receding of glacier, and the tropical area will be submerged. What will happen to our economy? Now, recently we have seen the Uttarakhand flood 2013, rainfall in J&K 14, and 2014 December 15 we have seen flood in Chennai, and then there are so many declarations about it. How it is impacting our health also. WHO 2000 reports indicates that climate change induced 2.4% diarrhea and 6% of malaria in middle-income countries, spread of typhoid, cholera, amoebic dysentery, giardiasis, viral disease, chikungunya, Zika virus, dengue, ticks, flea. That is an alarming stage increase. 1.5 to 4.5 degree temperature increase, which is expected by scientists if mitigation strategy, effective measures are not taken. And by 2021, 1.5 to 4.5 degree temperature increase can be expected. So it is an alarming stage. In London, what happened in 1952, 4,000 people died because of the smoke, which was liberated because they used to have, warming. For warming, they used to use the fossil fuel, and which leads to, cardiac arrest, pneumonia, bronchitis, tuberculosis, and this and that. Then ultimately they stopped altogether burning the fuel for warming the buildings. And in Himachal Pradesh, also Shimla, we used to have this fossil fuel for warming building. Now it is changed long back now. And when the temperature of the earth, our mother earth increases, what happens? It creates a heat stress, which leads to heat edema, heat rashes, heat cramps, dizziness, nausea, diarrhea, numbness of the hands and feet, heat syncope, heat stroke, kidney disease, pollen allergy, and cardiovascular disease. And it is being seen. Many people are victim of these things, and the instances are very much visible nowadays. At one point, now about 2.6 billion people in the world depend directly on agriculture. 52% of the agriculture land affected by soil degradation now. Salinity and drought at the moment. 52% is a big chunk. And 12 million hectare land has been lost, which means for infrastructure, for road, for deforestation, and many other means, So 12 million hectare land has been lost, which means 20 million tons loss of the food grains. Now we talk about the hunger. There is a sustainable goal, poverty eradication, malnutrition, how it can be. So that means we have to have a long, sustainable strategy to mitigate the impact. Now, if the temperature rise continue to take place, it will impact our cereal crop. That means 30% of the rice yield loss we will see, 20% of the wheat, 50% sorghum, 13% of barley, and 60% of maize. depending on the geographical location. This is the study conducted in 2014 by Khetri and Chatri. Okay, Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, they have said it forest stores about 335 to 365 million tons of the carbon. They are the storehouse for carbon sequestration there. But if the deforestation continues, as I said, 12 million hectare of land already lost with deforestation, urbanization, and many other anthropogenic reasons, then what will happen to these carbon storage sequestration process? And estimate says that in the last 25 to 30 years, we have lost a chunk of land equal to South Africa size. What can we do? Be involved in the plantation drive. Don't throw any garbage in and around forest areas and water sources. Try to avoid all kinds of practices which enhance the aerosol in the atmosphere. Keep your surrounding clean and green. Maintain proper hygiene to be healthy. Follow all protocol which leads to climate justice, equity, and socio-economic security. By not any ozone depleting substances product. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Saibi, for a very, very comprehensive presentation. You highlighted how carbon dioxide has spread and the negative impacts that are on the environment, the ecology, and human health. And you also given the solution. And I think solutions are very, very simple. We have to be austere, we have to be restricted, reduce, reuse, and recycle. And basically, use your physical resources rather than the technological resources. And more of forestation. I think if each one of us can plant at least 10 trees every year, then I think we could catch hold of the problems. So thank you, the worthy speakers, Dr. Saibi and Dr. Jeet Kumar Gupta, on a very, very important topic. Now, if you have any query, is most welcome. You can post your query on the chat box also, so I'll read it for you. And if you think, Mr. Kamal Hari has raised the hand. So yes, Kamalji, you can unmute yourself.
Sir. Thank you so much. The topic has been very interesting, very informative. I thank all the honorable speakers. Sir, the theme of the World Environment Day is land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience. Whereas first and the third term are positive, the middle one is negative. It should not be, I think, desertification. It is degradation of the soil due to human follies. I think it should be de-desertification or reversal of desertification.
Yes.
I think so.
No, you're right. Because when I was going through the topic, the same idea came to my mind also. That it should be de-desertification. So you rightly said. But many a times because this topic has been framed by United Nations Environment Program.
Yes, sir.
When they frame it, people like us only. So many a times, it skips out. So I think you very relevantly pointed out to that. So thank you.
Sir, thank you so much. The topic has been, really enriched our information. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for all. Thanks for joining. Yeah. Any other query, you can just unmute yourself, and if you have a query, and you can address it to Professor Gupta or Dr. Saibi or to me. And then we'll try to give you the answers. Or if there's any observation, also you can speak about very, very succinctly and very very briefly. Yes, please. Yeah, you can just unmute yourself. You can just unmute yourself and give your point of view or any query to the speakers. Yes. Yeah, Mr. Okay. Colonel Dalbir, you have a query?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, Navdeep. Yes. Welcome, Navdeep. Nice to see you after a long time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, have, because I'm a public health professional and sociologist by training, and the biggest challenge is that if we want a development, on what cost? And when we are talking about the challenge of the climate, and especially in the urban areas, how to make the city resilient for the climate disaster, specifically the morbidity and mortality due to the climate change. And urbanization is inevitable, but land is not a commodity which we are talking about it. And when we are talking about urban development or the expansion of the cities, or on the other hand, the challenges. So that I think because from the urban perspective, the planning, or you can say the understanding, should be based on that whenever we are working on the urbanization of the city, how to make the cities resilient for these impacts.
Gupta sir is the best person suited to answer this query. Because he has always dealt with land and is very passionate about land also. So, Gupta ji, Jeet sir, would you like to respond to what Dr. Navdeep is talking about? Jeet sir.
Hello. I have
Yes,
already,
yes,
I have already. Yes, thank you. I think this is a very relevant question which Dr. Navdeep has asked. But question, what we are trying to not understand, that cities are now getting warmer, The cities are getting hot, Now we are not looking at sustainable city, we are looking at cool cities, In fact, if you look at globally, the second largest killer in USA is the urban heat. And urban heat is emerging as one of the greatest phenomena. What, the way we are planning, like, we are hello, what we are planning, we are trying to increase the, retention of the heat. Look at this, all the buildings, look at all your infrastructure, all they are black, So your roads are black, your rooftops are black. What is happening? The sun, which is the heat generated by sun, is being absorbed by these buildings, and these roads, and they are retaining that, and then ultimately, the evening they are leaving back. The urban heat island impact is, adversely impacting the total quality of the cities, and cities are facing crisis for the reason that we are not planning city considering the urban heat island. We are designing building, we have all surfaces. What these surfaces are this, they are all absorbing and they are emitting heat. So therefore, I think what is more important is how, we are able to do justice with the urban heat. Unfortunately, what is happening, when the temperature are rising, what you are, the air conditioning, the entire system of air conditioning is doing what, we are cooling inside, but throwing heat of the inside to the outside. That means we're throwing inside garbage outside. And what is happening? You are raising the temperature of the city. And when the city's temperature are rising, so that means you have more heat, to counter. That means there is more need for cooling and more air conditioning. And more air conditioning means more heating of the city. So yes, therefore, what is, that how these cities are being planned, how we can eliminate these vehicles, number one. Number two, how we can, eliminate these black surfaces. What globally now people are doing, the countries are doing, they are all, the black roads are now being painted white. So their cool roof system of cool roads are coming in, so that these roads do not, or these pavements of these roofs do not absorb heat and then emit the heat, So that is a complex phenomena. The material which is being used for the building, they like glass itself, they are adding to the urban heat line impact, So therefore, I think now the understanding in the planning fraternity is, when you are planning cities, you have to plan cities not only just like buildings or roads and open spaces, but you have to make sure, building remains cool. And the cool city is emerging as a new kind of approach, a new kind of strategy by which you are, reducing the temperature within the city. Unfortunately, like you have certain cities which are exposed to large heat, like in Tokyo, like in Barcelona, like all these New York. These are the cities which are adversely impacted by the heat island. And if you look at the data, even Moscow, which is known for its cold climate, in the year 2012, about 40 to 50,000 people died because of the urban heat itself. So this phenomena is now becoming more and more adverse for the reason the way the buildings are being planned and designed, the way, cities are being planned and designed, the way, we are compromising not with the green spaces, etc. The best option to make city cools and make it like Dr. Chadha said, that we have to increase the intensity and extent of the green spaces, because trees remain the best option. There is no other species and where which can absorb heat, which can retain heat without emitting it back. So
Right.
therefore, I think the issue remains. The issue raised is very relevant, but I think it is only the planning of the city and the designing of building, the role of architects and planners to make sure that cities remain cool, so that this problem of urban heatland is eliminated, and secondly, minimum use of cars is promoted, so that the fossil fuel burning does not add to the heat. That's what I would like.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for very, very comprehensive answer. I think Navdeep, you would have got your response from
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So any other query, you can just please unmute yourself, but kindly be very specific in your question. Dr. Saibi had to leave. He had another meeting. So I am myself and Professor Gupta will be available to answer. Yeah. Any other query, if you would like to ask, any observation, but very, very briefly. Yeah. Okay, Dalbir sir. Colonel Dalbir, you can just unmute yourself and ask your query.
Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, firstly, I would like to convey my thanks to IHRDI and all the speakers, to include Professor Sanjay Chadda, Dr. G.R. Saibi, and Shri Jitwar Gupta, for educating us about the environment and climate and what we should do to check this further degradation and the desertification. So, as an individual, I feel the role of everyone is very important to check further degradation. And for us, the mantra of 3R, reduce, reuse, recycle, is very important. If every individual follows this mantra, I think we can check further what is happening in the environment and climate, sir. And as an individual,
very right, Colonel Saab. Actually, if you go by the Indian culture, we were always reusing things. Even one shirt which with the elder brother used to wear, it went down to the younger brothers, and even later on that cloth went to the the person who gave us steel vessels for that, and even later on they were used as a pocha or to mop up the floor. So Indians are always like that. They are saving, and but of course, unfortunately, this consumerism that has come up, we are also into irresponsibly consuming things. So your point is very well taken and well said, that reuse, refuse, reuse, and recycle. If everybody uses it to the extent of even 50, 60, 70%, then I think we could have our contribution done. So thank you, Colonel Saab, for raising a very, very relevant point. Thank you.
And in fact, Dr. Colonel Saab has raised very important thing, because all the issues and all the genesis of this, global warming and desertification are the human beings. So if we are the causes, we are the solutions. Basically, that's very, very important. And unfortunately, what is happening, development and environment, they remain, antithesis to one another. Wherever the development has taken place, it has led to more crises. Sustainability and development have gone in the different direction. So therefore, I think whatever we are doing as a part of the development, the environment and ecology must be at the core of the development, so that we don't impact and we don't destroy the habitat. And like you said, we don't go for consumerism. Unfortunately, we are going for more consumerism, and that's which is leading to more manufacturing, more resource generation. And we should understand, Earth is a finite thing. Everything is finite. There is no unending thing, and we cannot, work on the kind of system. And that what you said is, I think a circular economy is one of the bases. I think if we can do it, we can plan our city, we can plan our life. You will find, the things will be much better and much, nicer, when we will have lesser problem of this growth and development. Thank you.
Very rightly said. Very rightly. So, Kamalji, Kamal sir, you want to raise something, or you want to have some observation? You raised your hand, Kamal sir. Mr. Kamal. Okay.
No, sir, I have already put one observation.
Okay.
But,
all right.
Sir,
Thank
I think we should be given the hints as to what the individual can do to restore land or these things, to maintain the water environment. What can an individual do? These things are for the government to do. These things are for the big NGOs to do. What should I do specifically? If I come to know about that, I think we can restore it better and faster.
I think very, very relevant. Jeet sir, would you like to respond to this? And then I'll come up.
Yeah, no problem. I think this is very important. That's what we were trying to say. That the entire problem of this global warming, climate change, and rising temperature is because of the human action, and it's human action which will take care of this. If what Gandhiji said, we are trying to rectify the other people without improving ourselves, and without doing things ourselves. If everybody start doing things will be very much better. What we can do is, we can try to reusing your vehicles, like to having those kind of if you are using less vehicle, you are using less fuel, you can contribute to the growth and development. Having more plantation, you can do a great job itself. So the consumerism is basically starting not from government, it is from the we as a human being. So therefore, if we don't go for our greed, we go for a need, and if we plan and design for our needs, we'll be much better off, like the human greed, like what the land is being treated as a commodity. We are buying land, we are speculating land, we are trying to make money out of the land. I think land is a gift of nature, not a commodity to be traded. Rather than having 2 or 3 houses, if everybody is owning one house, you will find the problem will be much better and much quicker, that you will be able to solve those problems. It is only, unfortunately, the human greed which is trying to drive everything, and where we have gone wrong. And human greed is not limited to the developing countries. It's happening more in the developed countries, which have trying to grab the resources of all these countries, that they're having all those kind of development. Look at the development of America, they are all driving cars, and they are all entire growth and development is vehicle driven. The kind of consumption being done by them is colossal, and they are trying to waste, and they are trying to create problems of growth and development. So therefore, I think it's a human being. As a human being, we have, number one, to understand that if we are vehicle is creating a problem, you make if the buildings are the problem, then I think we have to rationalize the growth and development of buildings. Now, next, like Dr. Sahibi said, let's plant more trees. The trees are the best option in order to this. Let's make the city spongy. Let's not go for more built up area. Let's look at the building whichever we're doing. We don't use the glass at all. So I think there are a number of things, like we are living, like we are eating. And in fact, if you see to this, it is because of our eating habits, where the entire desertification has done it, because we have gone for meat. the producing meat is so very expensive and it is so much consumer of energy, etc., that, if we all people turn to vegetarianism, and you will find this world will be much better place to live in. So therefore, as individual, what we can do, we can change our habits. You can look at what is, we don't become consumer, we don't go by our greed. If we look for our need and live, within our resources, and rather than as a consumer we are doing things, I think that will be adding to, sustainability. And sustainability cannot come by the government.
Right,
It
sir.
has to be a collective effort, and it has to start from individual. If we are the cause, we are the solution. So therefore, as individual, I think in our living, in our working, in our approach to life, and in our use of resources, if we can rationalize that, I think we will be doing a much better service to the humanity and community. And that
Right.
would have.
Thank you, Jeet sir, for very comprehensively answering. Basically, I think you should plant more trees, use e-vehicles, use public transport, less consumerism. Just to sum up, so I think, friends, we have already exceeded our brief, like we always do. Just to sum it up, I'll take 1 minute to sum it up. Basically, UNEP has come up with the 2024 theme, that is land restoration, de-desertification, and drought resilience. And the idea is that the 2 billion people who are dependent upon agriculture and land, they should be saved. And if we do it, then we would be giving service to the 8 out of the 17 goals, like no poverty, zero hunger, industrialization, then responsible consumption and production, innovation, infrastructure. And the idea is that, there should be a balance between industrialization and urbanization and growth on one aspect, and the protection of environment and ecology on the other hand side. So friends, we have discussed this, and then there are various challenges which is plaguing this, and these challenges are the climate change, the pollution part, and the third challenge is the climate change, the pollution, and the idea is to get through all these, and biodiversity loss. And if we get through this, then I think we will able to save the around the 3 billion hectares of land, which are getting into desertification, and because of which our 2 billion people will be suffering, and there will be loss of agriculture, loss of habitat, loss of biodiversity, and everything. So if we have to really mend ways, then the idea is that, we have to go for more forestation, we have to use less fossil fuels, we have to be responsible citizens, we have to get on to the principle of refuse, reuse, revise, and recycle. So if we do it, I think we would be able to do justice. And for the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, wherein only 6 years are now left, from 2016 to 2030. So we have already lost around 8 years, only 6 years are left, and I don't think they are implemented now in the right direction, because maybe then, they come up with another name. So friends, thank you all of you for joining, and I took 90 minutes of your time, rather 94 minutes now. So thank you for giving us your, roughly 94, roughly 100 minutes of your time today. And especially when last day, when we celebrated the democracy, national duty, all of us voted, and we pray to God, the best party wins, and that party which follows everything in this sustainable development mode, and takes our country and to the entire world in the frame of Vasudevai Kutumbakam to a new high, and every one of us prosper, our families prosper, our kids prosper. So thanks to all of you. And just one announcement, that now we'll be having, we had a lull period wherein we are having this webinar after a long time. You will be delighted to know that IHRDI is now 3 years old. We registered on 1st March 2021, and now 2024 we are more than 3 years old. And this year we have pledged to take it forward from here, in wherein we'll have more webinars. We have set up the website also, and you will be glad to know that we are coming up with our own journal by the name of IHRDI Journal of Sustainable Development. So friends, if you are keen to have your research and publication, everything, then this is the journal for all of you, so that you could just ping me on 8727857116. I repeat, 8727857116. And if you have any article, we'll have you as an associate member. There is no joining fee as of now of IHRDI Foundation, and then you can contribute your journals, your articles, or various original publications to us, which will be an open access journal and on basis of sustainable development. So thank you all of you for supporting us, and this platform which came up in the misfortune time of COVID-19 has actually prospered with all of you, and today it's a good NGO or a foundation which is serving people in terms of education, health, literacy, and thanks to all our pillars of strength like Jeet Gupta ji, Surendra Sharma ji, Sanjeev Gupta ji, all of you who have held by us, and then maybe together we can take it forward from here. So thanks to all of you, and enjoy your day, whatever has been left now. Have a nice Sunday. Until we meet again, good evening to all of you. Sat Sri Akal, and God bless everyone. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you.